Assembly of the Damned, X, 1, and a black for an uncommon sorcery. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of the first upkeep, create a Satyr token, then shuffle Assembly of the Damned. It's a 1/1 red and black Satyr creature token with Frenzy 1. Create X Satyr tokens. Balzaphon, 3 and 2 black for a rare legendary creature, Skeleton Spirit, 4/4, with flying, and whenever a phylactery counter is put on a land you control, if Balzaphon is in your graveyard, target player discards a card. When Balzaphon is put into a graveyard from anywhere, put a phylactery counter on target land you control. Bleakheart Hellcaller, 2 and 2 black for a common creature, Satyr Warlock, 4/2, with when you cast Bleakheart Hellcaller, plot a scheme. Exile the top card of your library with a plot counter on it with. You may cast this from exile without paying its mana cost by discarding 2 cards that share a color with it. Carrion Vulture, 1 black for a common creature, Bird Beast, 1/1, with flying, and whenever a non-token creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Carrion Vulture. Pay 1, and sacrifice a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Carrion Vulture. Cephalalgia, 1 black for a common enchantment, aura with enchant creature. An enchanted creature has Cephalalgia. If it would deal damage to a player, instead that player mills that many cards. Then put a +1/+1 counter on it. Command of the Blood Queen, 1 and 2 black for an uncommon sorcery. You may cast this card from your graveyard if you have lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Target player discards 2 cards. Corpse Run, 1 and a black for a common sorcery with choose 1. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Return up to 2 target spirit cards from your graveyard to your hand. Corrupt the Source, 1 and a black for a common instant. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Gathering for 3, pay 3, and discard this card. Create 2 1/1 black elf warrior creature tokens. Corruption from Within, 3 and a black for a common instant with put X +1/+1 counters on target creature, where X is that creature's power. You lose X life. Dark Fires of Genius, 2 and a black for an uncommon sorcery. You may tap 3 untapped dwarf creatures you control rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle.
Day of Condemnation, 3 and 2 black for a rare sorcery with as you cast Day of Condemnation you may tap any number of untapped artifacts you control. If you do, that many creatures you control become artifacts in addition to their types until end of turn. Destroy each non-artifact creature. They can't be regenerated.
Demands of the Legion, 2 and 2 black for an uncommon sorcery. Search your library for a card and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Gathering for 3, pay 3, and discard this card. Create 2 1/1 black elf warrior creature tokens. Demonic Dealings, 2 and a black for rare sorcery with search your library for a card, shuffle, and then put that card on top. Then plot a scheme. Exile the top card of your library with a plot counter on it with. You may cast this from exile without paying its mana cost by discarding 2 cards that share a color with it. Kelda the Lost, 1 and 2 black for an uncommon legendary creature, Skeleton Warlock, 3/2, with fear. Tap 3 untapped creatures you control. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. Crocol Hunter, 1 and a black for an uncommon creature, Tiefling Archer, 1/1, with Cephalalgia. If this creature would deal damage to a player, instead that player mills that many cards. Then put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When Crocol Hunter becomes blocked by a creature, destroy that creature if it has toughness equal to or less than Crocol Hunter's power. Crocol Rogue, 1 and a black for a rare creature, Tiefling Rogue, 1/1, with Cephalalgia. If this creature would deal damage to a player, instead that player mills that many cards. Then put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When Crocol Rogue attacks and isn't blocked, destroy target creature defending player controls with a toughness equal to or less than Crocol Rogue's power. Locust Researcher, 2 and a black for a common creature, Elf Warlock, 1/1. When Locust Researcher enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 Black Elf Warrior creature token. Gathering for 1, pay 1, and discard this card. Create a 1/1 Black Elf Warrior creature token. Molten X Warrior, 1 and a black for a common creature, Dwarf Warrior 1/1 with trample. Tap an untapped artifact you control. Molten X Warrior gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Paratharn, 3 and 3 black for a mythic rare legendary creature, Satyr, 6/3, with haste and trample whenever you cast Paratharn or another Satyr. Plot a scheme. Exile the top card of your library with a plot counter on it with you may cast this from exile without paying its mana cost by discarding 2 cards that share a color with it. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, create a Satyr token. It's a 1/1 red and black Satyr creature token with Frenzy 1. Plot a scheme, 1 black for a common sorcery. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. Plot a scheme. Exile the top card of your library with a plot counter on it with you may cast this from exile without paying its mana cost by discarding 2 cards that share a color with it. Or another glass, 1 and a black for a rare instant you may cast this card from your graveyard if you have lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Reveal the top 2 cards of your library and put them into your hand. You lose life equal to their combined mana value. Spawn the Dark Fallen, 1 and a black for an uncommon sorcery with you may cast this card from your graveyard if you have lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Create a Dark Fallen token. It's a 1/1 Black Elf Vampire creature token with lifelink. Stir the Grave, X and a black for a common sorcery with return target creature card with a mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Taking Blood, 3 and 2 black for a common sorcery with you may cast this card from your graveyard if you have lost life this turn. Damage causes loss of life. Taking Blood deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. The Blood Queen thanks you for your donation. Tap the Iron, 1 black for a common sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap an untapped artifact you control. Add an amount of colorless mana equal to that artifact's mana cost. Void Elf Spellbreaker, 1 and a black for a rare creature, Elf Warrior 1/1. Pay 2 life, sacrifice an elf. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. Gathering for 5, pay 5, and discard this card. Create 3 1/1 Black Elf Warrior creature tokens.
Like, comment and subscribe.